You may not need a man, but I do.
Just Pearly Things. Some say she's one of the most controversial YouTubers out there.
So you're saying that you do want to allow people to divorce, then you don't really believe that?
No, I would say ban divorce.
That's a pretty extreme claim.
Many call her an idiot.
Now, I'm not saying Hitler was a good guy, but I kinda wanna know why.
He quite literally wanted an Aryan race.
Horrible at debating.
But doesn't the sanctity of marriage also rely on the woman being a virgin, so you wouldn't be able to get married? What do you... Well, you've spoken quite openly about how you're not a virgin.
Even the people that think a lot like her disagree with her and think that she's a lunatic.
Okay, at least, you know, there should be mandatory DNA testing at birth.
No.
I don't know why okay.
But if you ask Pearl, or at least read her description of herself on her YouTube channel, she's one of the fastest growing YouTubers and cultural commentators in the world.
You guys remember Pearl Davis? Her YouTube channel's been permanently demonetized.
She prides herself on working with or collaborating with Andrew Tate, Piers Morgan, who doesn't really like her.
Why are we canceled for talking about certain topics?
So you would allow Holocaust deniers to have space on social media to promote Holocaust denial to millions of people? You have 2 million people who subscribe to your YouTube, right? That's a big audience.
Well, Brittany Rayner also does not like her.
What comes out of your mouth? You literally just say whatever.
What are you getting so mad over?
Because honestly, you're delusional.
Brittany.
And many other of the world's most influential celebrities and commentators. Pearl has amassed more than 1 million subscribers and 750 million views in under 2 years. Wow, she's popular. Look at that. She is doing great. Anyway, on my main channel, we've talked about Pearl quite a bit. Many people have talked about Pearl. She is a very huge character.
Your husband isn't supposed to ask your permission. Your husband can do whatever he wants with the money.
Well, your husband can't really do anything because you don't have one, so.
I talked about her on TikTok, and something whenever I talk about her is her little, very small, bottom-dwelling men that love to complain that they can't find a girlfriend. They will come up on my page and say, "What are you, obsessed with her? Huh? You must really be jealous of her." And to that I have to say, you are so right. I, in fact, have a huge crush on Pearl and would love to have her sit on my face. Bring over those pearly butt cheeks to mama. And yes, I'm clearly obsessed with her. Her willingness to debate people, even though she's not good at it.
You're saying they're
And if
married?
people want to opt out of it, fine, you can opt out.
So it's not mandatory.
But
it's voluntary. But there it is voluntary. Yes.
I think it would be better if it was mandatory. I think that's a better.
So then the men can opt out.
Oh my gosh, what are you?
And we cannot forget that big Cartman smile that she has to do whenever she says something that she knows is going to be controversial and waits for everybody to laugh. I am obsessed. Now, not only am I obsessed with her, I am obsessed with dolls. I love dolls, I love Barbie specifically. And so when her little followers say that I'm jealous or I'm obsessed with her, I have to tell you that you are completely right. Because the more and more that I just see her in that big, beautiful smile, I kept saying, I need her on my shelf in doll form.
Hi, Barbie. Hi, Barbie.
Hi, Barbie.
Because I'm obsessed. So I started making a Pearly doll, and the first one that I ever made was this one right here. And I made a little skit with her in it, I'll link it below, but many of you guys were saying that Pearl is way too pretty. Now, she started out like this right here, but the more and more I use this doll, you guys were saying that is not Pearly. We've got some significant differences. You need to make it more realistic. So then I took that into consideration. And so today, we are going to create my most controversial doll, Just Pearly Thing.
They want to see you just as miserable as them, so you can be her emotional tampon the rest of her life. Because a lot of your mothers have failed again and again and again, and they do not want to see you succeed.
Just say you hate your mom, man.
So when you customize dolls, you have to go get your base. Now, I could have used this doll, but comparing her to Just Pearly Things, it's just not gonna work. This doll is very, very petite. Her jawline is just very feminine. Her chin is very petite, and her smile is very subtle. So I had to make a trip to Ross, and I ended up journeying into the children's section and into the Barbie section, and I found an Anna doll. And as you can see, Anna has a way bigger head than the original Pearl doll. So I boiled her head in some hot water, popped it off, erased the face, and it turned out like this. And when I did another scene with Pearl, the reviews were a lot better, but they still said, it's just not Pearl yet. And you know what? I agree. There's something missing. That's right. I needed that big, large, toothy smile. It's Pearl's signature look at this point, and I really wanted to captivate that in my Pearl doll. So I can place her on my shelf of dolls, and while I'm editing, I can look to the side and say, you know what? Everything's going to be okay, because I'm not Pearl. So it was time to search for another doll. So I didn't even have to go to the store for this one. I have a drawer full of random dolls that I decided to look through because I'm tired of spending all this money on Miss Pearly thing. And I ended up finding this doll. And I think that she's perfect. She has a wide set face, a lot wider than the other dolls, but not quite as wide as my second Pearl. And that toothy smile. I think if I wipe away her factory paint, the mouth is gonna be very, very large, a lot bigger than the regular Barbies. And there was a skin mat. What joy. Let's pop off their head. And I was right. I think this mold of Barbie will give me a really good depiction of Pearl. Plus, I think that mouth is going to give us the grin that I really, really wanted to show whenever I make a Pearl video. So now, it's bold time. Never seen you in the flesh. My laptop's upon my chair. So this part is one of my favorite parts, just taking out all of the factory glue inside. It just feels extremely therapeutic. If you're into art and you love to draw, I really suggest just like go into Ross, getting a cheap doll, ripping its head off, put something on Netflix or whatever you want, favorite YouTuber, and get to ripping. So comparing the two heads, I do like how big the original Anna's head is. I definitely love the fact that this third Pearl had a very, very big smile. So with that being said, I definitely X'd out Pearl number 2, and we are gonna stick with Pearl number 3. So I used this classic picture of Pearl for reference, and I think this hair is a really good match when comparing other pictures as well. And I told you, that classic smile is part of her, which is why it was so important to me to make sure that the doll has that toothy grin. By the way, I'm not saying that it's ugly. I'm just saying, it's there and people notice. First, before you start adding hair, you want to make sure to paint the scalp, because if you leave it the same color as the skin, it'll just look like you're balding. So now it was time to reroot, and this takes forever. Like I said, put on Netflix, put on your favorite YouTuber, and you have to push in using a reroot tool every tiny strand of hair, one by one by one. All right, so it's taking a while, but I think we're headed in the right direction. I think the color match is so much better. And when I turn her to the side, I just think that she has such a stronger jawline. You know, that masculine jawline that Pearl has, and this smile. I just think it's going to work really well once I paint her face. So we're headed down the right path of getting a more accurate Just Pearly Things doll who's ready to be in the kitchen, barefoot and pregnant, for her prime alpha male that's gonna treat her absolutely wrong. Until eventually you will get this. After you get the hair in, you wanna make sure you keep it in and so you don't become a bald bitch. So you put glue in her neck hole and you squish it around and let it sit there for about 24 hours. It was so hard to do that because I just wanted to get to her face. And honestly, I think I put way too much glue in there because it took longer than 24 hours. So about 2 days I had it sit there just to make sure that it was done. And now to prep the face for shading and coloring and painting and whatever else we're gonna do to make her have an actual face so she doesn't look as frightening as she is right now. We're gonna spray her with 5 coats of Mr. Super Clear. Outside. So I wanted to make this doll really, really well instead of rushing through it, so it took me a long time, and I made sure instead of doing 5 coats, I actually did 10 coats, and I usually don't cover my dolls, but like I said, the best for our girly. We want her to be a perfect representation of Pearl. So if you do decide to do this, you wanna cover the hair that we worked very hard on, took 2 days, remember, to make sure that it's covered so that you don't get any of the glue in the hair. And I did 10 coats of Mr. Super Clear to make sure that I get a very pigmented look when I decide to color and put all the shading and whatnot. And to keep track of that, because you know I'm gonna forget, I just wrote down a little note on the counter, and whenever I would come down every 30 minutes to an hour, I would spray and then check off how many coats I'm at so I don't forget. And then it was finally time to give her a face. All right, so it's the next day. I've got my gloves on because we're going to put Miss Pearly onto this body and see if it fits really well with the skin tone. I think it's gonna be good. And she's on. Do you guys like the little chair I got Pearl for her podcast, her little roller chair? It's perfect. Anyway, now we gotta cut her long, luscious locks. We can thin it out later. Now I'm going to color on her face or give her some contouring with some soft pastels, which I can't do on camera because I don't want to, and it's hard. So I added her blushing, and I just wanted to capture that natural redness to her skin that she has, and I think I added too much, but I'm just gonna keep going with it. By the way, that's past recorded Michelle. This is right now Michelle. I made that dress, and I thought that I had filmed it. Well, I did film it. I deleted all of it, but I made the dress. Does it look janky? Yes. Is it a very bad sew job? Yes, but it was my first tiny scale type dress, and it represents that picture that we're going off of pretty well. Listen, it's not the best, but I had to tap myself on the back for that one because it is so hard to sew tiny clothes. Oh my gosh, but I mean, let's cheers to getting better at that. That was very hard. It took me 3 tries. So after the shading, I added all of the lines and the paints. So it took me about 3-4 times. But finally, after finally getting the type of mouth that I want, we got a pearl that I personally am very happy with. So without further ado, the most famous, what did her YouTube say? Oh, here we go. One of the fastest growing YouTubers and cultural commentators in the world, Pearl. New from Michelle. Just Pearly Things, the ultimate pick-me Barbie. She comes with a variety of phrases. Andrew Tate is my idol. Divorce should be banned. So whoever finally picks me can never leave me. Andrew. Men have the ultimate self-control. Unlike women, men are totally allowed to cheat. It's only in their nature. Especially my future husband. I would never complain. Oh, hi! Complete with a variety of fun accessories, like your own working guitar. You may not need a man, but I do. And of course, multiple microphones, because you'll never know when someone will need to know your opinion. Welcome to Just Pick Me Already, the fastest growing podcast of all time. Just Pearly Things, the ultimate pick me Barbie. Now, on my shelf. You'll never find a husband dressed like that. You guys, I don't think you know how happy I am with this. You might think it's weird, and it is. But I'm so proud of myself. I am so fulfilled. I have a Pearl doll because I'm so obsessed with her, clearly. And girl, you lost your shoes. That's okay. She said barefoot and pregnant is the way to be. We're just getting her ready. Anyway, you'll see her a lot in my little mini-verse. You'll see her whenever we do skits if I talk about Pearl, and you'll definitely be seeing her in a new series that's gonna be on my toy channel, Toymageddon. It's very much like regular show, but it's anything but regular. And I think Pearl will fit into my mini-verse just fine. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. I'm sure I'll get comments saying, that's bullying to make somebody into a doll. No, it's not. A lot of people make people into dolls. Even Mattel, they make dolls. I personally, it's very similar to The Sims to me. If I find you interesting, this is whether I like you or not, if I find you interesting, I'm gonna put you into my little world. And that's that. So on that note, see ya.
Wake up, honey, I made you breakfast. Fresh coffee and bagels too. A new day is waiting for us. We got lots of fun stuff to do. Let's go to the zoo and feed the monkeys. I can lend them your baseball cap. Let's make the day a very lot of fun. Growing up is just a trap.